Softball, we got 5 minutes for our 32 and 32 series as we continue on. Today is number 13, and it is Grant Delpit. Earl, I know you mentioned Grant Delpit earlier in the show as a guy you hadn't heard glowing reviews of from camp. Not necessarily bad, but hasn't been a standout like we've heard some other guys be referred to as. So what are your expectations for Grant Delpit in his first year in Jim Schwartz's defense in a contract year as a second-round pick out of LSU?
So even though I've not heard much, good, bad, or indifferent, my expectations for Grant Delpit has not changed. I think that on the defensive side of the ball, he can be the Cleveland Browns 2023 breakout player of the year. You see him start to make more plays towards the end of the season. I thought that, even though Joe Woods didn't do much to change what was going on defensively, that, when we would go back and watch the tapes, you seen Grant Delpit playing closer to the line of scrimmage than he had played at any point throughout the season. And the result of that was, interceptions, deflected passes, forced fumbles, etc. And so when you hear other players in this defensive scheme led by Jim Schwartz talk about the freedom that they have or being able to be in position to play naturally to more of what they do well, I think that Grant Delpit is another guy who's going to benefit from playing for Jim Schwartz. And I think ultimately the Cleveland Browns will benefit because he's going to make plays. He might even score a touchdown or two this year.
Grant Delpit, G.
Now, listen, I would like to see him. I would have liked to see him a little bit in the preseason, but to me, I want to go on record. I want to be on record. I think this is going to be one of the most dominant defensive lines that I've seen in a very long time. I think that the defensive as a whole is going to be one of the best defenses I've seen in a very long time, and it's just because the level of I would say the level of freedom that they have to go out there and make plays. I was in a system where in high school, I had over 100 tackles as a defensive end. I said, bro, they looking back at the stats and say, bro, you're lying. That's out of you can't have 100 tackles as a defensive lineman. I said, oh, yes, you can when you tell the defensive lineman, go do whatever you want to up front, and we'll worry about it on the back end. And usually what happens is on the back end, we had guys like Mike Dawson that got 10 interceptions. 10 picks is crazy. I didn't even know they was throwing the ball that much. But what happens is when guys start to play hungry and loose like that, and that synergy starts to build, and it all comes together, Grant Delpit could be the beneficiary of that. I liked him coming out of LSU. I thought he had a bounce back year last year, and I thought that he definitely outplayed JJ3.
Yeah.
I thought he was probably the most consistent guy in the secondary last year, besides Mark Emerson. So for me, I think he can have a great season, and if he is going to have a great season, they're going to be a fast defense and a fun defense to watch.
By the way, G gets a lot of his information from the Parcheesi Club that he's in with Jay. You guys enjoy my video on Friday?
That was funny. That was very funny.
That was hilarious.
That was crazy. I was like, we're the same. We're the same Parcheesi Club. We got to get Jack Conklin together. He didn't show up last week.
He said, Earl, you lost your damn mind.
Yeah.
I love you, but you just lost your damn mind.
Because I feel like you were ranking them based on how good the player was. Left tackle's most important.
You know what it is? I got the same energy for Jed Wills that you have for Miles Straw.
I hear you. But in the end,
That's what it is.
And when you explained it, I understood. I'm like, oh yeah, he just don't think he's good.
Right. I don't think
I
that
just
good
don't think
either,
he's
but
good.
his position is important.
His position is one of the top three most important positions in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that when it comes to the actual player playing left tackle, I feel as strongly about him as you feel about Miles Straw.
Man, I didn't know he was that bad. I think he's not as bad as Miles Straw is in baseball.
But what do you think about
Grant Delpit? Grant Delpit, I was very impressed with the second half of last year. To me, he had been a huge disappointment with the Browns until the second half of last year. And I thought he really stepped up his game. He had a big impact the second half of the season. And I have extremely high hopes for him. I'm with G. I have extremely high hopes for the defense, too. Now, we got to see it because we've had a lot of high hopes over the last few years for this team, and it hasn't happened. But the defense definitely has more talent than it's had as long as I've been covering the Browns. And I think Grant Delpit found his place on this team last year. It is a little weird that he hasn't played much, but I think I think you guys did good with Grant Delpit. I think
I like Grant.
In the right spot.
I like Grant Delpit.
Important player.
Nice and easy.
Yeah.
Final fast food of the day before we get to our softball review.